Welcome to this focus session where we take a deeper look at type 2 diabetes care and explore the shift from managing to restoring blood sugar balance. If you've ever been diagnosed with prediabetes or type 2 diabetes, the conversation usually goes something like this: Your blood sugar is high, you have diabetes. Take this prescription to the pharmacy and let's check in after 3 months. But there's a conversation that you actually deserve to have, the one that explains what's really happening inside your body so that you can choose what action you want to take. Because managing blood sugar suggests that you can't do anything about the condition, which is not true. And until we start having a conversation, people stay stuck managing symptoms instead of addressing the real reason blood sugar became elevated in the first place. And if you haven't read my detailed notes on this topic, sign up in the link below to receive it. So, who here likes weeds? I don't know many people who do, but what do we do about it? We groan when we see when the weeds color our lawn after a rainfall. Then we mow it down because at least we don't see them, right? And then they're gone. You are left managing your garden or your lawn because you aren't getting rid of the weeds. And so much of our energy and effort gets directed towards the weeds and not so much the garden, the grass, or the herbs that you want to grow. It's kind of like with type 2 diabetes. You know the signs, you need to know the signs and symptoms of blood sugar. True. But then you treat it with sugar and then food becomes a stressor, and that's all you focus on. Our health system is designed to manage numbers, hence all that blood work. Management of lifestyle diseases like type 2 diabetes pours all its energy into symptom control. That means the focus shifts to medication compliance, dosing, monitoring glucose, and avoiding sugar. And through it all, you're still feeling tired, frustrated, cautious around food, stuck in your cravings, and feeling like a failure. And it's true that numbers can be controlled with medication, but the disease itself doesn't get better. Restoration, on the other hand, focuses on the underlying systems that steady our blood sugar, the contributing lifestyle factors that increase glucose, and creating lifelong balance. When you only manage blood sugar symptoms, you're just trimming the weeds. When you restore how your body handles blood sugar, you start changing your energy, your clarity, your resilience, your long term health trajectory. We hear the message: type 2 diabetes is a chronic progressive disease, but mostly because of the idea that underlying systems cannot be restored. Restoration involves informing yourself and digging deeper with appropriate tools that get to the root of the problem. And it doesn't stop there. It then creates a strong and stable platform then that enables you to plant good habits that nourish your body so that new life flourishes. The question is, why isn't anyone explaining what's happening inside your body? The conversation that you deserve to have. Is it lack of time? Assumption that everyone agrees that diabetes is progressive? Maybe that people only want the quick fix. Conversations almost never happen because the system focuses on management, so it's very quick. But you deserve to know what's happening inside your body, the lifestyle factors that prove the biggest turnaround, and to be given the autonomy to decide how you want to approach it. So, what's happening inside our body? Let's address all these topics that we need to have in our conversations. Type 2 diabetes develops when the cells become resistant to insulin's instruction to let glucose inside the cells. Early on, the pancreas often produces more and more insulin, trying to keep blood sugar stable because the blood has a specific glucose range it must maintain for life. But the real issue isn't simply eating too much sugar. or more accurately, having that converted into glucose in the blood. It's how the body handles and stores that energy. We know this because we can eat sugar and not get type 2 diabetes. Our bodies need energy from food: glucose in carbohydrates, fatty acids in our fats, and amino acids found in protein. When we eat, glucose, here identified in the yellow G, enters the bloodstream. The body now has two main options: use it for energy now or store it later. Now, if the body needs energy right away, insulin is released, boom with the I here, and it helps move glucose into the cells to be used. It gets the green light to go. Good. If there's more glucose than needed, the pancreas now releases more insulin to help store the excess. Okay, this doesn't give you diabetes, but the over 5-10 years of doing this all the time leads up to this overwork in the pancreas and overwork in the insulin. Muscle is actually the body's largest glucose storage site. So that's why I use the muscle here to demonstrate glucose getting in to the cell. The second is the liver. But when those storage spaces become overloaded, excess glucose has nowhere to go. High insulin still comes, but the glucose is not gaining entrance into the cells. It is converted into fat then, with all this extra glucose, converted into fat and stored in fat cells. And more dangerously, it starts accumulating in the liver. You might begin to notice this as weight gain around the waist, frequent urination. It might even smell sweet, blurry vision, wounds that take longer to heal, increased skin infections, and skin tags. When there is no more storage, cells now must resist insulin signal to let glucose in. One helpful way to understand insulin resistance comes from nephrologist Dr. Jason Fung, who describes it as an overflow problem. In this model, cells begin resisting insulin because they are already overloaded with glucose, energy. It's like trying to pack more clothes into an already full suitcase. The suitcase isn't broken, it's simply full. In a similar way, when muscle and liver cells are already saturated with that stored energy, they become resistant to insulin signal to take more glucose in. And that makes sense. They're protecting itself. So as the pancreas responds by sending out even more insulin because the blood needs to be stable, meanwhile, another problem develops. Normally, insulin tells the liver to stop releasing glucose into the bloodstream. But when the liver becomes insulin resistant, that signal becomes distorted. The liver may continue releasing glucose even when blood sugar is already elevated, adding even more glucose into circulation. So over time, this process is strongly associated with fat accumulation in the liver called fatty liver. So blood sugar rises. Medications push those numbers down, but as you can see, the underlying systems are still overwhelmed. So essentially, type 2 diabetes is a problem of load glucose, not a problem of lack insulin. This flow diagram is what I like to use to capture the essence of type 2 diabetes. Chronically high load here, that increased load, so that can be high stress, high consumption of sugar and carbs. The reasons for that may vary. Inflammatory triggers that increase this load, and they can come from food itself, food sensitivities, environment, people, chemicals. This chronically high load, coupled without the capacity to balance or neutralize the load, and that is like the prolonged sitting, the muscle loss, so our storage capacity is reduced, the lack of good quality sleep, and joyful activities, this decreased capacity, this imbalance creates high insulin levels, demonstrated here in the next level up, which contribute to an unsteady internal environment. And who here is living in survival mode? That's an unsteady environment. That leads to insulin resistance, where all the signals are now disrupted. No one's communicating. No one knows that there's so much high glucose in the blood already. So the missing piece in the initial conversation now asks a different question. Not how do we lower blood sugar, but how do we restore the systems that regulate blood sugar? And that starts by asking, why is insulin elevated in the first place in your circumstance? It brings about some relief knowing that you can tackle type 2 diabetes without stressing so much on sugar. The next part of the conversation could address the 4 lifestyle factors that have been proved to turn the progression of type 2 diabetes around. And why not? Here they are. Increase your leafy greens, activate your muscles, focus on sleep quality, and that also comes with the hours that come with the sleep quality of restoration, because without it, everything else is harder. And participating in recreational activities to balance out the stresses of the day. Nothing new or impressive, just the foundations we learned as kids. And if you are in a role, a parenting role, coaching or teaching role, this is what we tell our kids, right? Don't we? Eat your vegetables, get some exercise, go to bed early. And if you're out, have fun. We'll see you later. And so this is the foundation of the framework that I teach, and it's called the REST method. Because when we rest, blood sugar can stabilize due to the powerful built-in systems that were created to regulate blood sugar. REST stands for 4 core ways of living that support these systems. R stands for reset rhythms, or I like to also say respecting our rhythms. E stands for eat for the microbiome. S stands for strengthen muscle. And T stands for tame that stress. So let's touch on these briefly. Reset or respect your rhythms. The body runs on circadian rhythms. When we sleep, or when sleep and eating patterns become misaligned, blood sugar regulation begins to suffer. So let's start with sleep. Sleep plays a massive role in decision making. Just one night of poor sleep can increase hunger hormones and lead people to consume hundreds of additional calories the next day, usually coming from carbohydrates, the refined stuff, and the sweet drinks. When I work a night shift, keeping my hands off those easy access quick carbs and sweet is really hard to do the next day, even though I know all of this. And why is that? Because this energy need is, according to my brain, urgent and will override my conscious effort to avoid them. Eating rhythms. Eating windows help give your digestive system a break, which also gives insulin a break too. So simple rhythms like consistent sleep times and hours and a defined eating window can itself actually dramatically improve blood sugar stability, even with all that sugar intake that's coming in. E stands for eat for the microbiome. Your gut microbes play a major role in blood sugar regulation. That is the beneficial ones, right? The microbiome responds to several daily lifestyle factors, and the strongest influences are 1, diet composition, and meal timing. When we feed these microbes with leafy greens, fiber rich foods, and prebiotic foods, by the way, they are our plant foods, they produce compounds that can improve insulin sensitivity. And interestingly enough, these microbes also follow a circadian rhythm, which means our eating and sleep patterns influence them too, influence their health. Which bring us to our secondary influences, which is the quality of our sleep impacts the microbiome, as mentioned, hydration status, and activation of our stress hormones. And before we leave this page, I can't leave by letting you know that those artificial sweeteners, well, they may help blood sugar numbers look good, which fall under the management care, right, plan of care, but they actually harm our gut microbes. Therefore, they do not completely agree with my restorative care approach. Moving on to S, strengthen muscle. Strengthen those muscles. Muscle is the primary storage site for glucose. So when we increase muscle mass, we increase the body's storage capacity. That means when life happens and you have an off day with food or just stress in general, your body has room to store glucose safely. This includes walking after meals, resistance training, and my favorite, squats. I love squatting. Um, Coupling this with protein actually allows the muscles to replenish and rebuild and stay metabolically active, which serves as a powerful and reliable storage site for glucose, helping to stabilize blood glucose levels. For women, especially, this is critical because after about the age of 35, we begin to lose muscle faster than men. So it doesn't help when we give up our proteins to our spouse or share them with our kids and we swap them with simple protein, simple carbs, thinking that we're doing them a favor. But, our families need strong moms too. And T, lastly, T, tame stress. Chronic stress raises cortisol, another hormone, which drives up blood sugar. What does that mean? It means insulin goes up too. Cortisol is very helpful when we need it, but when it's always elevated, insulin demands again rise as well, and there is no rest, even if you're not eating the sugars, right? While we can't eliminate stress completely, we can learn to balance it and become resistant. Even simple daily practices like breathing exercises, a mindful walk, or reflection time, fasting, they all reduce insulin demand. Learning what our triggers are, whether they're relational, environmental, or food related, is key to this process as it keeps cortisol buckled in the passenger seat, only released when needed, instead of it being behind the wheel, driving our daily decisions. So managing blood sugar is not the same thing as restoring metabolic health. Two very different approaches. This is the big reframe. So see high blood sugar here? If that is what we're looking at, so are we with the treatment or the care plan, right? The focus is on sugar. Now, if we shift the conversation towards restoration of high insulin load, in order to focus on lowering the load, the insulin load, due to many contributing factors here, right? The bread, the gut, the sleep, the the sitting, the prolonged sitting, our muscle loss, other stresses, right? The food is demonstrated here by lack of energy as well, complete macronutrients. So we focus now on, if we're looking at high insulin, that load. So we focus on increasing glucose storage capacity. Let's build up that muscle, creating consistent rhythms that provide internal stability, and lowering that insulin load. I think we pointed out on that. When the body senses stability, our blood will often reflect that too. So now the person with a type 2 diabetes can finally make an informed decision. This gives them some decision making responsibility for their own health rather than giving it away. I find most people want to go the restoration route, but it feels like it's impossible given their lifestyle circumstances. And this is where the role of coaches and community come in. So, by applying the rest lifestyle method, reset those rhythms or respect those rhythms, eat for the microbiome, those fibers, the prebiotics, prebiotic foods, um, strengthen those muscles and tame that stress, learning your own coping strategies and joyful activities to balance that stress. Choosing one of these new actions every day, 3 days 3 days in a row, that is in itself that will set you up to achieve blood sugar balance. If should you do them consistently over 2-3 months, if you want to go that route. But I find most people do. For those who may need some extra personalized guidance because there's many other health issues going on, I have created a 90-day program called the Blood Sugar Restoration Project. And inside the program, we walk through how to restore these systems that use the REST foundation framework that regulate blood sugar naturally. So, if you'd like to learn more about this project that I'm running, feel free to join the waitlist, and the link will be in the comments below. Thanks for watching and for taking care of yourself.